Welcome back, Sober Family. This is another episode of Recovery Talk brought to you by Pro Recovery Power. Hope everybody's having a great Saturday. If you caught my live previously before this, you guys know that my guest, he didn't make it on. I talked a little bit about PRP, Hawaii, and helping other people with addiction, basically. So Mikey's here today. He will be sharing his experience, strength, and hope. I'm not kidding, but you guys are going to be glad you tuned into this one. If you guys need some hope, you guys are about to get it. What's up, Alex? What's up, everybody? How you guys doing? Thank you guys for tuning in. But let's see. Let me get him on here real quick, and then we can get this party started. There he is. Hey, Chris. What up?
What's up, Alika?
What's up, bro?
Many blessings to you, my brother.
Yeah. Oh, you looking
Yes,
good,
sir.
Mikey?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me all right doing that?
Yeah, I hear you perfect.
My man. Thank you so much for this opportunity, brother. I can't wait to,
Hey, thank you,
spread
bro.
a message of hope that can help some other people.
Absolutely. I know we were chopping it up earlier this morning. And man, I got some pieces and stuff of your story, bro. And like, I was like, I can't wait to hear the whole thing, and I can't wait for other people to hear it as well. Like just from the little bit I heard, bro, you are literally a walking, talking miracle, like literally. And everybody that's tuned in, you guys will hear, and most definitely agree with that. But yeah, thank you so much, bro, for taking out, some time out of your day. I know you're super busy. I get that. We talked about that too earlier over the phone. But before we get started, bro, I just want to ask you, how long have you been sober?
January 3rd, 2018 is my clean date. So a little over 3.5 years, man. And that's just a blessing I never thought would be possible. For an addict like me to go through all of the pain and all of the guilt and all the shame and all the things that I went through in my life that were mostly self-inflicted, right? I never thought that I'd be able to have a single day, let alone continue to grow in this process and just become an accountable and beautiful person today. So
yeah. Oh, bro, I can totally identify with everything you just said, man. Amazing. And so where are you from?
Baltimore, Maryland, home of the Wire. I like to talk about that here and there, man, because when we say Baltimore, a lot of people sometimes like you get this glimpse of like a little inner harbor for anybody that might know, right? And that's like a 4 square block radius, like legitimately. You got some high rises, some downtown, and like a little patch of shitty water that they call the inner harbor. And that's like the staple, right? But if you step outside of that 4 square block radius, right, it's literally a third world country. And, drugs, gangs, everything, violence pretty much runs the city. And there was a point in my life where I appealed to that, right? Like even coming from a lower middle class family that was like, really geared on trying to show me what quality of life is, I still wanted to run from that. And I still wanted to say, okay, well, I'm not happy with me. I'm not happy here. So let me go see if I can identify with something else, right? And kind of rewrite my own story. Damn sure if I didn't find everything I wanted at that time, man. But,
Yeah.
Yep.
And what was your choice in drink and or drug?
So drinking, not much, man. When I would drink, it would be beer, liquor, things like that, right? That wasn't really a huge part of my story. Although when I did drink, I would drink to the absolute maximum and make sure that everybody that was around me, right, whether that was in a bar or whatever, make sure that everybody was around me would be like, wow, he's wild, right? Like, so I would want people to see and say those kinds of things about me. And I used to think it was cool. Like, I would think it was funny, but ultimately I found identity in the harder drugs, man, heroin and cocaine and meth. And, but I like to say, like, it's not about the substance, because you can give me any substance. Whatever I choose to use to step outside of me, because I'm not happy on the inside. For some reason, I'm not comfortable, right? Like, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good looking enough. I'm not capable enough, right? All of these things were things that I used any substance to try and run from myself and change the way that I think and feel so that I didn't have to be me. So you put anything in my body and I was going to use it to escape and you know, try and feel better. So yeah.
Yeah, I can, again, boom, I can identify with you again, you know, because I didn't know this at the time. I was already in recovery when I had to look back and think to myself, why did I start using drugs? Why did I start drinking? I mean, of course, yeah, it was for the effect that it produced, but for me, it was, you know, I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be one of the boys. I was an introvert. So everybody around me was extroverts. So I was like, you know, I made a fool of myself trying to be an extrovert while sober. But once you know, my mind was altered, I didn't really care about what people thought already. You know, I was like, I felt different. I was confident. I could talk to all the chicks. You know, I could fight. You know what I mean? All these different things. You know,
Yeah,
and
man.
drugs and alcohol, literally, it did for me what I could not do for myself. You know, and then you know, years down the road, it just turned around and stabbed me in the back. You know, and I walked around for 20 years with all these, you know, knives in my back. But okay, right on, bro. So before I give you the floor to tell your story, I just want to talk to the audience real quick about Pro Recovery Power. If you guys would be so kind, go to our website, and it's prorecoverypower.com. On the bottom right-hand corner. If you're on your computer, it's going to say questionnaire. If you're on your phone, it's a little circle with a pencil. If you guys could fill that out, please, because as a lot of you know, we're in the process. We got the paperwork in to make this into a nonprofit organization to help reach people on a massive scale. So what that questionnaire does, it helps us to measure our success and track our progress, but ultimately also see what we can improve. And that moves the vision of PRP forward. So if you guys could do that. Also, we have our own recovery meetings on Wednesday nights through Zoom, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you are in the San Bernardino, LA County areas on Fridays, I host a PRP panel at a sober living. So if you're interested in coming and being a speaker, we physically go there now because things are lifted because of COVID is kind of dying down. But if you guys are, please message me. We can make that happen. So at this time, Mikey, I give you the floor to tell us your story, bro.
Oh man, don't even know where to begin, right? But it's funny because you spoke something about being an introvert that was around a lot of extroverted people, and I can truly identify with that because like all my life I felt outside of, right?
Yeah.
Like somehow I didn't fit in with the in crowd or anybody really. I didn't know how to fit in. I didn't know where I fit in, if you wanted to put a label on it, because like my mind would just be in different areas. Like I was always daydreaming. I was always kind of feeling just like this grand sense of understanding and knowing that I felt like a lot of people couldn't identify with. So if you put me in a room with a party, it was like a bunch of small talk. I can't operate like that, right? Like I'm not a small talk kind of person. It has to have wonder and intrigue and emotion, right? And like intellect with it. Like, so that's what I would identify with. And when I couldn't find that in other people, I was like, what's wrong with me? You know? And so all my life, man, I felt like I was always outside of the box, right? Like somehow I was outside of, I felt less than. I grew up with some family abuse, right? A lot of emotional and some physical abuse from step parents. So that kind of like solidified this fact that there's something wrong with me, you know, even though I couldn't figure out what it was. And I'm just a kid. And it's like, I don't understand why I'm the way that I am, but that's, you know, that's my journey. But for some reason, even in my household where I'm supposed to feel comfortable and feel loved and feel welcomed and be a part of, you know, I had members of that family that would kind of like push me away and be like, why are you like this? Why are you like that? Why can't you do this like other kids? You know, so it really made me truly feel like there was something wrong with me, right? And that's why I like to say, like, my addiction started way before a substance was ever introduced. You know, I always wanted to escape. And so, like, I would run away from home. I would, you know, do a whole bunch of outbursts and get myself in trouble because deep down inside I was screaming, but I didn't know what I was screaming for. You know, I didn't know how to express it in that way of like, hey, this is how I'm feeling. And I don't know how to give it to you, but, you know, take this big bunch of shit and, you know, me like kicking holes in a wall and stuff, you know, and if you figure it out, let me know, you know? So I would just get myself in a lot of trouble in school as a form of outlast, right? And then ultimately it started turning to some crimes, man. Like I was a little teenager throwing rocks at cars, breaking into cars, doing a whole bunch of just crazy stuff, spray painting on train cars and shit. And so like I identified with being outside of that box, and like society's rules don't work for me, you know?
Right.
So like that became my identity before the drugs were ever introduced. And then, you know, once you put a drug in me, like I said, that was off to the races. Somewhere along the lines, there was a switch that was flipped that made me feel like, okay, I feel this way about myself. I have such utter low self-worth. I don't know where from, and I'm still working on that to this day, you know, but I have such such low self-worth that it's like when you put that substance into my body, I don't recognize it. You know, it doesn't matter. None of that shit matters. You know, it somehow made me feel comfortable with me. And I saw like this podcast one time, I think it was a TED Talk actually, where the guy was like, you know, the opposite of addiction is connection. Yeah. Right. And I thought that was fantastic, because I do feel like we need a new level of common understanding for addiction. Right. Period. For the masses to understand, like, but at this stage, I was like, wow, you know, that makes a lot of sense. And so I started deeper analyzing. When I, you know, picked up my 4-step, it was like, man, I didn't feel a connection at home. I didn't feel a connection with other people. I had no understanding of what a spiritual connection was. And I had no connection with myself because I didn't understand myself. But you give me drugs and I felt connected to. Yeah. That became my form of connection, you know? And man, I ultimately ran with that until the very, very, very bitter ends, because the root problem had never been addressed, which was to run from every ounce of pain and every emotion that I had ever felt, because I didn't know how to deal with it. Yeah. And I didn't know how to look at myself in a way that says, Mike, I love you. You're worthy, you know? And so, you know, ultimately, I don't like to tell horror stories and all that kind of shit, because this is about recovery, right? Everybody's got a sad story. But, you know, I wound up homeless in Baltimore City with a fucking sign, excuse my language, with a sign begging for money, you know, committing crimes, and, you know, just looking down at my arms as I was trying to stick a needle into them. And like, you couldn't see any veins. I had all this scarring and all this scar tissue up my arms. I was so dehydrated. I was so skinny. And yet here I am taking, you know, trying to get this last shot into my body with tears streaming down my face, because I don't want to live like this anymore. But I don't know how to not. And the only thing that would stop those tears was to continue to push the plunger in. And so, you know, it got to a point where I couldn't look in a mirror. You know, I didn't want to hear I love you from my family that would constantly reach out and be like, Mike, are you all right? Do you need help? Da, 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 da. And like, I felt so worthless. Like I didn't deserve that help, that I couldn't see myself as anything more than this homeless junkie on the streets. And to where, you know, I had little glimpses of rehab, and for some reason they didn't work for me, right? Really, I didn't work them. And so my final decision was, you know, the only way out of this is to kill myself. And I tried to kill myself twice, and for some reason I'm still here, you know, and I should not be, especially with the way that I tried to do it. And, but all in all, man, like, I don't know if I really wanted to die as much as I just couldn't stand the pain of active addiction one more day. Sorry, it's choking me up, man. It's so real. It's so raw to me, because I will never forget, like, the basis of all that pain that brought me to my knees, to where I couldn't even kill myself right,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and waking up with that feeling after knowing that I should have been dead and being like, what is wrong? You are such an utter piece of shit. You can't do anything right. You don't even know how to kill yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And that was the ultimate pain that I think I have ever felt, you know, until finally I was like, well, I'm obviously not doing something right here. So is there another way for me? And I found that way through Narcotics Anonymous and a rehab. You know, I took the rehab route, took the 28 days,
Yeah.
but it was something different inside of that last spiritual awakening that I had when I had tried to kill myself the second time and not being able to do so. It was something inside that was like the battle was over. The war was still there. That would
Mm-hmm.
take daily maintenance and work in this program, you know. But the battle, it was like this huge weight had been lifted off of my shoulders, even though I was still maintaining an active addiction until the point that I went up into that treatment center,
Yeah.
you know. And then when I went into that treatment center for the first time, I sat down, shut the fuck up. I opened my ears. I didn't want to identify with other people inside of that rehab treatment center that, like, I would most likely want to leave and use to go get high with, like I
Yeah.
had any
Yeah.
time, you know. And I gave myself a chance, man. And something told me, even though I didn't have this true spiritual connection at that time, something told me, it was like this gut feeling, and I know it's God today. God was like, just sit there, man. Just go through these motions. We got better plans for you, bro. You know, and like I held on to that, and I've taken the actions necessary in order to accumulate the stuff that I have today, man. The
Yeah.
recovery that I have today.
Man, sorry. I was writing down some stuff about what you were saying. Um, Unbelievable, bro. You know, I could again, like I have yet to find another person that identifies as a drug addict or an alcoholic, and I cannot relate to them. You know, although like I'm from Hawaii, you're from Baltimore. It doesn't matter. Like you know, I'm Hawaiian. You're I don't know what you are actually, but yeah, I know you're not Hawaiian, but you know,
Irish and
but
Italian.
Irish and Italian. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and like those differences, but yet I can relate to all of the things you're talking about in regards to the emotions and how you felt, the things you did, you know, all of that, the thoughts that you thought. Because even like some, I've never the way you explained, you just talked about, you know, you couldn't kill yourself, right? I contemplated suicide tons of times. Every time I chickened out, though, to be honest, because in my heart, I really knew I didn't want to die. I just wanted that pain of addiction to stop, you know, and like, you know, and it was a constant battle, bro, that was going on. This war inside of me for 20 years. Well, 20 years altogether. That actual battle, at least about maybe 15, 16 years. It was going on to where, you know, like what, you know, it was coming down to my only option to stop this is to end my life. And then I don't know, for some reason, I would like, even though like all these thoughts that you're talking about, you don't want people telling you, they love you and all this stuff. And I felt like that too. And, you know, just like, I don't know. I think it literally was the Spirit of God stopping me from doing it, you know, and things like that. And, you know, because I try to come up with all kind of different ways. I don't know exactly how you did it, but like, you know, you know, active addiction, like, you know, you know, it's, I wanted to live. I really wanted to live. I didn't want to die. I just wanted this pain and misery that comes with addiction to stop. I really did, man. But you know, I know there's a lot more to your whole entire story than that. But I mean, I got so much out of it, man. Just from, you know, what you shared about yourself. You said something. I wrote it down. So, and I like how you talked about your like way of thinking and behavior before any substance came across your way. A lot of people kind of overlook that, and people who are maybe unaware or ignorant or uneducated to addiction and the disease of addiction, you know, they think it's just a substance, but it's
Right.
actually not. Like drugs and alcohol has never ever been the problem. It was always a solution, always, to all the problems that I have. But in this process of addiction and this way of thinking and this thinking patterns that started to happen to me, my behavior started to change slowly. And then, like in the beginning, it was slow, and then it would just rapidly, you know, like, oh my gosh, like I became a pro at manipulating and lying, like so easy. It just came so natural to me. Because
Doesn't that
I
make
did
you
it.
feel like shit too? You know?
It did, bro. It did. Like, and after a certain, I don't know exactly what point, I learned to try to ignore it because it will screw up my high. It'll make me feel even worse. And but like it still will hit me from time to time. But I don't know. I just found a way to just kind of tune it out and not think about it. And then try to distract myself with satisfying, you know, my sexual need, drugs, alcohol, whatever, anything that would keep me distracted from what the real problem is, and which was me. I come to find out, you know. But in this process of recovery, well, prior to recovery, I you know, I would listen with my mouth and not with my ears. I really would. Like, you halfway through a question, bam, or something. Or you saying, like, I always had a response ready for anybody, for anything, whatever subject, it doesn't matter. But you know, in the process of recovery now, today, I have learned to listen, and now I listen to learn, because you know, it's you know, this deal, this business of recovery, you know, it's not an overnight matter. You know, it should continue for a lifetime, like that. That process of growing, you know, and growing along spiritual lines. Because something like even outside of my 12-step program that I've learned is, you know, other things that is very beneficial to my life today. It started with my 12-step fellowship though. But other things, like my sponsor is not a marriage counselor. He's not a financial accountant. Like
Right.
how to manage my finances, I have to learn that outside. How to have a successful marriage, I learned that outside. But I had tools that I learned in my program that definitely helped me. But to be more detailed and things like that, I learned outside. But that was a big one for me, bro. Like I couldn't. You can ask my dad. Oh my gosh, I had an answer for everything. Like, I know. That was my favorite 2 words. I know. I know. I know. I know. I
Yep,
know.
mine too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, it's
You know,
crazy.
one of those
How?
things that, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off
No, go
there.
ahead. Go ahead.
One of those things that you said that really stuck out was like, you said that, you know, you're in Hawaii, I'm over here in Baltimore, and you don't, you know, how our stories align, whatever. And what I've learned is like, I don't know what addict looks like, but I damn sure know what it feels like.
Yeah.
Right. And that the one thing that holds us all in common, your story is different, my story is different, our substances may have been different, our backgrounds may have been different, but the one thing that we all have in common, right, which I would love to see more unity on, is those feelings that brought us to the door, right? That brought us to the door of recovery to say, you know what, enough is enough, and I'm ready to take some action and change my life. I may not know how to do it. I may not have all the answers. I may need some help in being able to get it done, right? But those feelings that brought us into the door are pretty common. Like, we all share that. And what I learned in the steps, right? Because the 12 steps are a big part of my recovery today. And a lot of people neglect those steps. I don't knock anybody's path to recovery. I think you're changing thinking patterns and behaviors to give yourself a more healthy and abundant and you know, beautiful, happy life, then excellent for you. Like, that's the common goal, right? The steps are just the way that I have found to put that into action, that is an easier, formulated, more structured way for me to capture, right?
Yeah.
And so what I learned throughout those steps is like, that substance, like you said, that doesn't matter. The disease doesn't matter. I had enough knowledge on the disease I could teach a rehab while I was still in an active addiction, right?
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? But what mattered was what led me to that. And that was the basis of fear and low self-worth, right? Like, those are those are like the two major things that we all share in this program. Even if we're still in recovery, I struggle with that shit all the time.
Yeah.
Right. But today I have a program that helps me step through that fear and step through that low self-worth. And I have tools today and also things that I've learned outside of the program, which allow me to take little steps in taking action that helps me build a more healthy view of myself.
Yeah.
You know? And so to me, that's what recovery represents. And that's what the steps represent, is growth, right? Because if you think about it, as in nature, what does not grow in turn will what?
Die.
Dies, right? I don't want to die today. So I want to continue, like all my life, man, I spent out there on the streets or out there in prison, almost a decade in penitentiaries, right? Robbing people, hurting myself, robbing my mother, you know, hurting other people. I'm in recovery today. I'm free from active addiction, right? I don't want to live that same lifestyle, but I also don't want to live a mundane lifestyle that makes me feel like I'm not even living, right? Like today I have an opportunity to step through those fears and those feelings of low self-worth and create whatever kind of life that I want, you know? And if that takes a better mindset, more application, more reading books, a little bit more awareness, self-awareness, right? Then like starts with my program in those 12 steps and working on me. But then there's an abundance of life and knowledge out there that you can still draw from and add it on to your recovery, right? So that you become one of the best motive versions of yourself that you can possibly be and continue in that evolution so that tomorrow I'm stronger, faster, smarter, and more aware than I was today, right? That's what recovery represents to me. And that's why I created a brand around that called Dream Xtra Large, you know, that speaks to that very same purpose and evolution. Because I feel us as addicts in recovery that are working these 12 steps, they legitimately make us like unstoppable versions of ourselves, right? And like, because we're attacking things that people in everyday life and society already face. They just don't have the solution of a program because they never had a problem with addiction, you know? But they're still facing the same shit. And so my goal is to try and mold that in a way that makes all of us in recovery want to say like, hey, I don't have to live this same life of feelings of guilt and shame and low self-worth and resentment and fear and all of this stuff. And that if I want to go chase something that makes me happy or helps me build a lifestyle that I want to continuously live and I'll be happy in living, then let's go for it, you know? And I can see that in you, man. Like in our conversation earlier, I can see you share that same mindset, man. And it's beautiful.
Absolutely. You know, I love how you just put everything, like the way you worded everything you just said right now. You know, like, man, I mean, I thought I could identify with you before we went live. Oh my goodness, even way more now, you know, because it's so true. Like everything that you just explained, you know, with the steps, because not a whole lot of people that I have talked to and met, like it's whatever fellowship they belong to, it's that and boom, and that's it kind of thing, you know. And like I remember early on, I remember being, you know, early in recovery, reading the steps on the wall, you know, in the meetings that says that every meeting. And I remember thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, it's like the opposite of everything I want to do, like literally. but like, you know, it just hurt so much. My dad told me this growing up. I say this quite often. He said, look, in life, you can go through two different pains, the pain of change or the pain of staying the same. And at that specific point in my life, the pain of staying the same hurt too much. So by you know, because of that, I basically tapped out. I surrendered. Okay, my way's not working. Let's try, even if it's the opposite of everything I want to do, let's go ahead and do it. What's the worst thing that can happen, you know, kind of thing. And then I start to realize or start to think, I had these thoughts of, oh wait, only the first step has anything to do with drugs and alcohol. The other 11 has nothing to do with drugs and alcohol. So I started to think, man, I must be the problem. And I come to find out I was, you know, it was me. And I started to think, wow, like this program is just, you know, it's there to help us become better human beings, period. You know, drug addict, alcoholic or not. And speaking of that, like, you know, recently, like a couple weeks ago or so, My wife is a normie, and she asked me to take her through the steps. I said, "Oh yeah, no problem, for sure." And then she heard somebody at my PRP meeting speak, and she could relate and identify with all these feelings she felt, all the things she did, all the emotions. Although my wife never suffered from drugs and alcohol at all, like she would drink one glass of wine and like leave half there. I'm like, drink it. Like, what are you doing? Like that's alcohol abuse.
Shit.
But she could relate. And now my wife has a sponsor, and she's gonna start going through her steps. And if I'm not mistaken, her sponsor is actually watching us right now. My wife is here too, actually.
Welcome. Thank you.
But yeah, bro, it's just amazing how like the core, like my foundation is 12 steps for sure, definitely. But like you said, we can kind of pull and draw from other, because I mean, like, it could be motivational speakers, it could be books on leadership, whatever. Like it's not just drugs, alcohol, recovery. Like that's the foundation for me, for sure. I'm also a Christian, so I read my Bible. I go to church and stuff like that. So but it's not like minimizing my growth to a recovery literature period, and then that's it. Because what if I'm trying to get into a leadership position at a corporate job I have, but you know what I mean? And like, how am I supposed to learn that? Kind of stuff. But it's so cool, man. How much
I share a lot, man, right? But I don't think I could quote a single line or paragraph out of our book, right? Like, I worked the steps,
Yeah.
right? And I've read our book. But at the same time, I know a lot of people that are sharing, they'll be like, page 47, chapter 3, subline 16. And I'm like, to me, and I'm not shitting on anybody that does that, right? Like, if that helps you in your program, to me, it's the inner work that matters more so than being able to recite the literature, right? And the literature did help me identify with the program at a time when I didn't feel like I could identify to anything, But our literature in the NA program, I do work. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but it is based around a level of addiction, but more so the pain of addiction. So they're not talking about the substance. They still recognize the problem as being us, right? Where the solution became the drugs and alcohol to try and fix that problem. And so any other time that I came to recovery, right, I would think, that's, I don't need to learn more about drugs and alcohol, like that would be my shove off. That would be my justification and excuse as to why I'm not working. But at the end of the day, like you said, like, once I started to recognize what that work actually entailed, it changed my perspective entirely. And I've always been somebody that was about self and personal development, right? Like, I love that. It fuels me. It fuels me to become self-aware in an aspect where if I notice there's a habit or a mindset or a skill set that's standing in my way from becoming better, like, I want to fix that, right? Or I want to learn more skill sets so that I can become better. I want to learn more strategy on how to learn to become better, And so when I recognize that that's already formulated in the 12 steps right then and there, I was like, wow, why was I fighting this for so long? Because I didn't work a single step until 7 months into my recovery, And I will tell you, I went through a lot of pain in that 7 months, clean, when I didn't have to, But as soon as I started to pick that book up and put written words to paper, which there's power in that. I'm sure you're aware of the mindset and the knowledge in that. When you write something down and you get that out there into the universe, to God, to whatever it is that you believe in, that becomes a form of magical power, like, for real. And so when I had an opportunity to kind of start delving into myself and writing those things down one by one in a step working guide to help draw it out of me, I was like, I got hooked. I was like, I see this power. I feel it, right? I feel better about myself. I started to create better habits. At first, it was like, I want to brush my teeth 3 times a day, eat 3 times a day, and, shower daily, right? But through that and taking an impact on those, then it became make my bed, then brush my teeth. Then it became make my bed, do 50 push-ups, meditate, right? Like, then it started to build. It started to build. And through that, like, man, I've gained some great habits that allow me to look, feel, and respond well in any given situation, you know? And like, you wish that you could almost hand this over to people,
Yeah.
you know?
I know.
And sometimes it's so frustrating because like you see somebody standing in their own way, and like you want to help in that aspect, and be like, here, this is what I've done to change me, but yet it doesn't work like that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, what I realized in this program is that people have to find their own pain.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have to find their own pain, because it was only when the pain was great enough for me to change that I changed.
Yeah.
You could have me read all the books, you could show me all the videos, you could let me listen to all the people talk, but until I felt that drive inside of myself, knowing that something had to change, then nothing mattered.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know, like, I mean, because I'm working treatment, you know, no, we cannot argue people into recovery. You can, I mean, you can try, but it's super ineffective, and there's no long-term effects of that, because somebody is doing it for somebody else. So what
Right.
happens when that person, let's say it's a loved one, let's say it's a wife, you do it for your wife. What happens when she pisses you off? Then what you're gonna do? You're doing it for her. All of a sudden, all that goes right out the window, because like if I did that and I didn't do it for myself first, see, the thing I come to find is when I do it for myself first, everybody will benefit from it. You know what I mean? It's
Yep.
not just me, because of, you know, those character defects I get to work on, and my shortcomings, you know, and like, I mean, you know, one thing I was just thinking about this last night is that, I grew in my patience in certain areas, like more than others. So like patience, like with my wife, I have a lot of that today. I had like zero. I had like negative 100, you know,
Lucky
prior
man.
to recovery.
You picked the right one to prioritize.
Yeah, yeah. But when I'm on the freeway, I have no patience, and I don't
Right.
know why. And my wife will tell me, like, we're not in a rush, but I'm like, I just, because my mindset is like, I'm a doer. I'm like, go, 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 go. Let's go. Boom, 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 boom. Let's get this done. I pull a trigger, man. Bye-bye. Just aim me in a direction. Boom, I'm gone. Like just
Yep.
having that mindset. I'm like, she's right. Like, we're not in a rush or nothing. But like, I'm like, like, oh, hurry up. Oh, you know, and, you know, I can get impatient in traffic. And like, I literally am not in a rush to go anywhere. And like, I'm driving, like, I'm not a crazy driver, but that's an area, even though I may have a lot of patience with my wife, like on the freeway, is not so much, you know. So saying that I'm patient, period, is not very accurate, you know. And it's only because I learned how to be honest with myself to where I can differentiate. Okay, I'm patient here, but not here. I gotta work on this area. This area I'm okay in, you know, things like that.
I'll build
But
on that for a second.
huh?
Can I build on
Yeah.
that for a
Oh yeah,
second?
absolutely.
So I have the same construct,
Mhm.
right? You put me on a freeway and it's like race car. One, I like to drive, right?
Mhm.
And I like to drive relatively fast because I want to get to where I'm going,
Right.
regardless of whether I'm in a rush or not. And I like to be in a lane that's constantly moving. So if there's
Yeah.
4 lanes and one lane has 2 car lengths of a gap in that side, I'm moving to that side, even if it speeds me up by 2 seconds, right?
Yeah.
And then I'll follow that path until another one. You know what I mean? Or I'll
Mhm.
constantly weave in and out. And so, and I'm always driving fast, and I get upset when other people get in front of me and drive the speed limit, you know?
Yeah.
But here's what I realized. There's a deeper level to this,
Uh-huh.
right? And so I talked with my sponsor, I talked with my significant other, and it was, Mike, you're always just trying to get ahead.
Uh-huh.
And it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, wow, you know, I'm always trying to get ahead.
Mhm.
And no matter what the time frame, no matter who's in my way, no matter, you know, if I'm late, if I'm early, I need to go faster and I need to get in front of people because I'm always trying to get ahead.
Yeah.
And it was like this. And that's what I love about recovery.
Mhm.
And that's what I love about sponsorship. And that's what I love about having a network, because I'm on the inside of the glass.
Yeah.
I can only see so much. I'm a pretty self-aware, articulate guy,
Uh-huh.
right? but it takes somebody on the outside of the glass to sometimes bring things out of us.
Right.
And that was something that, and I still do it. I haven't fixed the problem, right? But like, it was something that it was so grand. It was like this revelation. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of truth in that. I always felt held back. Always, like I said, always felt less than. So now you put me in an independent nature where I'm self-run, you know, and I need to get ahead.
Yeah.
I need to do whatever it takes to get ahead.
That makes a lot of sense. Even, I mean, for me, bro, that very well might be why I do that too, to be honest, you know. It's amazing, bro. I like how you word things, man. It makes so much sense to me anyways. It really does. And I can really relate, man. So relatable. But now at this part, Mikey, I want to ask you some questions, bro. So the first thing I want to talk about actually is I want you to tell all of us about Dream XL, or tell us why you named it that.
So I run a brand called Dream XL. It's federally trademarked. To me, that means to dream extra large, right? And my primary goal is to inspire others, right? Like, so I want to build something that brings such a huge impact to the world that inspires other people to do the same thing and do the same thing and do the same thing. So like a domino effect of everybody that it has to touch and who they touch and who they touch and who they touch. That is my end goal with Dream XL, right? And so I fully believe that we are capable of anything that we put our minds to. You know, I used to blame the government. I used to blame society. I used to blame the police. I used to blame the president, the secret societies, the everything, right? Like, it's the Illuminati and shit, right? So like, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that. They might ban your video, right? But like, I was that kind of person who put the blame on every single thing else but me. And what responsibility and what action I could take to change my own setting, right? To change my own conditions. I don't believe in circumstances. I read an amazing book called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. And he says, there is no such thing as circumstances. A man creates his own conditions, right? And so in that way, how we think, how we feel, how we respond, how we act are all accumulative of the reality that we have a chance to participate in, you know? And I thoroughly believe that. And so I found out that my greatest obstacle was, and always will be me, just like I did in recovery, right? And so when I have an opportunity to work on me through recovery, through the other things that I've learned in the fellowship and all the things that I've added on, then I have an opportunity to chase after anything that I want to in life. And that's not to say that everybody needs to be an entrepreneur or start a business. We all know that's not for everybody. Some days I'm like, why did I do this to myself, right? And days I'm fueled by the fact that I get to live on my own means, right? That I don't have to show up and clock in for a 9-to-5 that I absolutely hate, working for a boss to drive his dream while not working on my own, you know? So to me, it meant something to me as a creator, as a visionary, as somebody who wants to leave a legacy on this earth, right, that inspires other people. It meant something for me to take that into my own hands, even when I didn't know what I was doing, and try and build something for myself. Like, so Dream Xtra Large is a way for me to continue to evolve on my journey and display it in a way that inspires other people to do the same. And I do that through speaking engagements. I do that through content. I do that through apparel that speaks to people in a way that, you know, one, you're not your past, and two, you define your future.
Hey, so when we spoke over the phone, you added a little bit more into that. Can you tell us about that?
So Dream XL has 4 stages of evolution, and just from a business aspect, right, like an entrepreneur aspect, I think it's always important for people that when they're doing something, their why is the ultimate goal, right? Like when you communicate from your why, people can resonate with it in a better fashion than, oh, this is what I do, here's what I have, You know what I mean? So my why is so deep to the point where, like I said, I'm here to build and inspire, right?
Yeah.
And what I want to do in the form of building and inspiring, there's 4 stages of evolution to Dream XL. We're in stage 2 right now, which is the content, speaking engagements, and the evolution of the brand to speak on a more universal level than simply just recovery, right? Stage 3 is building a foundation that brings impact to other people within our communities, right? So what I want to do inside of that community is hire only addicts, or excuse me, recovering addicts, and convicted felons, right? So it's important to me to give opportunity to those that might feel like they don't have it, you know? I want to teach them at the same, like if I get them at the door broken, feeling like the world is against them, I'm going to show them that it's not. You know, I'm going to bring them into that ecosystem and show them how to beat the system. You know, that's important to me. I don't identify with anything going on in our system, and we don't have to go there, but that's not for me. I want my own lane, right? And I want to show people what's possible. And so in that aspect, I want to teach high income skill sets to low income areas, right? And bring opportunity in a way that they might not see it's there. And so if that means that I can harness somebody's talent, somebody's creative vision, somebody, you know, bring it all under the door, under one roof, I help them get it to the market. I help them find a way to communicate it in a way where they can make a living off of it and monetize it under one collective roof, which is called Dream XL. And then stage 4 is about doing the same thing, but I can't go there without a non-disclosure agreement, doing the same thing into the prison and institution system. So, and
bro,
the way
I 100% support that. I think that's such a big deal, that what you're doing, because ex-cons, drug addicts, alcoholics, who will hire them? Who wants to work with them? You know what I mean? Because of the stigma that exists, like, you know, people, you know, we get a bad rap, you know? Like, there was something else I asked you over the phone about, if you want to tell this little story, about when you were laying on the top bunk in prison and all of that, and you thought about the dreaming, you know?
Yeah, so back in 2010, Thanksgiving area, 2010, I got stabbed 11 times in prison, right? And I had about 2 years left on my overall date, but I was supposed to be going home in 6 months at that time, you know? So I was getting ready to hit parole in 6 months, get out on good time, all that shit, right? But we talk about feeling lost, right? So I might as well get vulnerable. You're going to ask me the question. I might as well get vulnerable because it's a big part of my story, right? Now, I think a lot of people need to hear it. We talk about being lost and not knowing how to identify and feeling a lack of connection and all that kind of stuff. So when I hit the prison system at 21 years old, feeling like the world was against me, that I didn't have family, that I didn't have anybody there for me except for myself. And here I am deep down, just a scared little fucking kid, right? In a big boy prison with people doing life, people doing 40 plus, people doing double life, you know, all tatted up, all that shit. So I'm gonna get real and I'm gonna get vulnerable with you here, right? Like, my first instinct, I was approached by several gang members and they were like, yo, we got all the weed, we got all the tobacco, we got cell phones, we got smack, nobody with us, you know what I mean? Like, that's, and I was like, oh, no shit, that's awesome. You know what I mean? Like, so I jumped into that gang lifestyle in prison, right? As a way to kind of mask all the shit that I ever held inside, right? And one, because I'm a chameleon, now I got to fit in a group of people. It was never to me about safety. It was more about how much can I mold myself to look like the environment of where I am, you know? And so I put myself in a lot of harsh positions, man. I hurt people and I signed up to do it because I thought that that would make me accepted. I thought that would make me cool, you know? I thought that that would hide the pain that I felt inside. So I hurt people, I stabbed people, I participated in hits and stabbings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like I just got myself in a whirlwind of pain and shit, you know? And from that first one, they were like, all right, check this out, shorty. Don't ever expect to go home on parole. Don't expect to go home on your mandatory. Don't expect no good time. Matter of fact, expect to get more time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it's a little off from the conversation we had here in the beginning, right? You know? And mind you, if for anybody watching, this is we're in a system in Maryland. This was not a hate group whatsoever, right? Like our group was not one of those, you know. I just want to make that very, very clear. So I put myself in these positions, and I hurt people. I participated in hurting people until ultimately it came back on me, you know, and not from the same organization, but from another rival organization. And I got stabbed brutally and viciously through my cheek, through my neck, through the back of my head, through my hand, through my chest, my side. And I was laying, literally fighting for my life, laying in a puddle of blood, not even moving, and the police came up to mace me. And I don't know if anybody's ever been maced, but it does not feel good. It hurts really fucking bad. And the mace got in all of my stab wounds. And they didn't let me shower for 3 days. And then when they finally did let me shower, the water reactivated the mace. And I was like, oh my God. And they took all my good time, which was 2 years. So instead of going home in 6 months, now it was another 2 years away. And then my family's like, you can't even behave in prison and all that stuff. They stopped writing me. I didn't have anybody to communicate with. Mail call would come around. There's no mail for me because I had destroyed every relationship that I had ever been a part of, you know, and it was the loneliest feeling in the world to sit there in a cell by myself, not have no real books. You know, I had a writing pad at that time. I had to earn that writing pad after 90 days. It took me 90 days to get a fucking writing pad and a pen, you know, and so. And then I had to do all the gang program kind of shit. They were trying to reverse the gang stuff, but in all actuality, nobody paid attention to it. And I wish I could do it today. With all the knowledge that I have in recovery and life skills and all that stuff today, I want to be the one to write that program for other people, you know? Not the prison warden and all that shit. Maybe one day I'll get there, you know? So my message is for people that have been through things. They don't have to be through that raw of an experience, but that really shook me. I'm talking about that was probably one of the hardest times of my life, even amidst the active addiction, homeless out on the streets. But it taught me so much about myself. Like I had to create a routine for myself. I had to, instead of I laid in a bunk for like 60 days. I didn't even want to get out of the bunk, right? But I had to create a routine for myself. Okay, get up, wash my face, shave. Oh, yo. Are you fucking serious?
Hey, I can still see you. Can you see me? Oh, no. I think his phone just died. That sounds like what happened, guys. So sorry. Maybe we'll keep it on and he'll plug it in and come back. If not, guys, don't worry. Yes, you can hear the rest of his story. We will do this again, definitely, because he has an unbelievable story to tell. And as you guys can just see, we lost him. His phone died. So I'll get him back on, guys. No worries. Don't worry about that, because he does. Like, I know a lot more of his story and everything. And I just, this platform that I got, I want to bring people here, people like him. You guys see his story and how he talks and how he communicates his message of recovery and other things even outside of recovery that he has learned. So I will definitely get him back on. I got to check my calendar. It's almost full this month, but I will get him back on to tell the other half of his story. Maybe we may not wait till the weekend. Maybe we'll do it again sometime during the week because Mikey really got a story to tell, man. I was on the phone with him for a while earlier this morning and just, talking, and it's just amazing. I never got to asking him any questions either. We just got to the very first one, actually, which I just thought of. It wasn't one that I wrote down. But thank you guys so much for watching. I will still repost this after it's over. And you know, it most likely his phone died by the way he reacted. His phone died. So, anyways, hey, if you guys know somebody, you want to go live, you want to tell your story, please reach out to me, and we can make that happen. We can continue to spread hope around the whole world and let people know who do not know that recovery is possible. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care.